These came in the mail. Emily ordered these.
Oh, they're like young people shoes.
She collects these Nike Air Maxes, all the different.
Why are those so tiny?
For her little feet. So
Jesus, just small feet.
What I do is I make her wear these when I her. So she's gonna put these nice new runners on, and then I'm gonna her brains out. Because that's what I do whenever she gets a pair of new Nike Air Maxes.
Why was that not on the show?
There you go. Scott's like, I'm still rolling.
We technically are.
Even better. So good, Scott. Edit that right in there. Maybe at the beginning, just to get the viewers ready.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 47 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Of course, I'm here with Dusty Hanshaw and I'm Big Ron Partlow. And on today's show, we're going to have our producer, Scott McNally, hop in for Coach's Corner. Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 47. Dusty Hanshaw and myself, Big Ron Partlow. And today we thought, we got Scott McNally here with us. He's a producer of the show. You guys know him from Advices Radio. How's it going, man?
Hey, good. Glad to be here.
So I just want to, let everyone know Scott's obviously a huge resource of information. I mean, how many podcasts do you host, man?
Ooh, a lot. Honestly, I don't even know. I don't keep track anymore.
You've done 1,000 podcasts, so
Probably, yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So we thought let's have Scott on for one of our Coach's Corner because we got two fucking idiots here giving you all these hypothetical answers all the time, and we got Scott here, so he definitely adds to the conversation.
We have an expert now.
Yeah, so now we finally have an expert on the panel. So you're in Detroit, right? Let everybody know, remind everybody what's going on.
Yeah, I think, you know what, probably most everybody on the channel knows who I am. But yeah, I'm out in Detroit. And what people don't know is that I've been sitting behind the scenes on every single one of these episodes, watching it live on my computer here while you guys record. Yeah. It was 2 episodes ago, I said something, you went to the bathroom, you were like, I gotta pee. And then Dusty and I started talking and people were like, holy shit, Scott's there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and also too, last week we were unable to record. Dusty had some business he had to take care of. So we re-released the Dana Lynn Bailey episode, and a lot of people didn't realize that it was one of our first episodes re-released.
Yes.
Yeah, so we just put that out again because for those of you that don't know, how many was it, Dusty? Was it 5 or 6 episodes that we actually put on your channel when we started?
Yeah, I want to say, about 6 episodes before we switched them all over to here, just to kind of get the traction going on the show.
And Scott, how many of those have we re-released?
We have re-released 2 now.
Ian Valère, right?
Yes.
Is it Ian Valère released?
Yep.
And Dana Lynn Bailey. Okay, so for those of you that maybe didn't know that, you can go to Dusty's channel, and there might be a few episodes on there you haven't seen. And we're going to slowly get around to re-releasing them every time we're unable to make our obligation. We'll have an opportunity to spit one out.
Every time Dusty ditches the show, we'll fucking do this.
Yeah, well, Dusty, I would.
I made it 45 episodes before I took a random day off. I was pretty proud of myself.
That's good.
No. Well, by the sounds of it, you have good reasons to be hanging out in your kitchen.
Yes, there's always good. It's cooking with Dusty.
Dusty likes to have cooking parties at his house. Is that
you never know? I think it's a great way to put it, and we're going to be putting them up shortly on one of the channels. Maybe we won't make it to YouTube necessarily.
Right.
But we'll get them up there. Don't you guys worry.
Okay, and remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. It helps us in the algorithms. You know how it works. So we start with some questions, man.
Yes, and we have these are leftover questions that have never been answered. So it was kind of Ron had the great idea to say, we just got to bring them in. So I didn't even ask anybody for new ones because I have that many.
So are these the B-sides?
You know what it is? It's just that we never fucking answer the questions.
I know, we never.
And that's why Scott is here. He's going to keep us focused. It's really why Scott was invited, was
we needed
he's
a
going to
parent.
keep us from... veering off to the right. You know what I'm saying?
Right now I'm doing the same thing I do normally. I just like sit here and laugh the whole time watching you guys. This is like, except for now I'm actually on the screen too. So
yeah,
Stumble
but
and
now,
bumble,
now
yes.
yeah, we're gonna see you laugh, which is key, which is why people will know I'm funnier. Okay,
There we go.
I want to start with one because this is an easy one. Is it possible to build a pro level physique with 750 to 1,000 gram test only off season? No other compounds.
Wow. I mean, Ronnie did it. So possible.
He was okay.
Like, so possible, like, is it possible? I mean, almost anything's possible. There's like the 1 in a billion genetic guy, and you happen to throw him in the pool when he's a kid, and you wind up with Michael Phelps. Like his parents could have put him on a bike, and he might have been an like okay bike rider, and then he would have been too tall.
Yeah, that doesn't help him.
So possible is possible. I mean, are you a fucking ridiculous, insane freak?
Yeah. Well, because I think what they're really looking at is just like during prep and stuff, you would use all the normal gear. This is just this is just in your off season.
Also, if you did 2 shows a year, you'd have a lot more drugs fit in there.
It's all timing them out there. What do you think, Scott?
Well, what was that first cycle of yours, Dusty? Somebody brought that up a few weeks ago on one of the other shows. You started out with, was it 200 or 100 Primo? What was that first cycle?
1 amp of Primo a week.
Yeah, 1 amp of Primo a week. And what did you gain from that?
Oh my God, my first cycle, I want to say it was like 27 pounds.
Okay.
It was retarded.
Okay.
Like, if we could all have that first cycle back and the $100 price tag that came with it.
Yeah.
The thing about the first cycle that I truly believe is I think there's something to be said. Obviously, it'd be impossible to scientifically prove this, but I like to believe it. If you can get the most out of your first cycle, it puts you ahead of the guys that waste their first cycle. Like I think there's long term, it makes a difference if you wasted your first cycle or not.
Plus, I think it goes back to training, right? Like I was already training really, really hard, and I remember at the time I started. I'm sure you guys have all had that conversation with a client that's like, "Yeah, I started the test today. I was so strong this afternoon." And you're like,
yeah.
That's actually not how this works. But
if anything, I was disappointed with my strength gains on my first cycle, but I put on a lot of size.
I was the opposite. I could tell you, because the gym is still open that I was at. My ex-wife was spotting me, and I was shooting for like 10 reps on a shoulder press. And I remember at 13 pausing at the top and like looking at her.
Wondering if you loaded it up enough.
And then I keep going, and I get done, and I put it down, and I look at her, and she goes, "Holy fuck, that stuff's amazing."
Yeah.
Because I got like 7 extra reps, and I remember, but then it was an immediate click to me, like, okay, now I need to take advantage of this. So every number I had ever written down, I was like, well, that's not enough. Let's just go up.
Oh yeah. So what I mean is I got a lot stronger my first cycle, but I, for some reason, thought I would get even stronger than that. I was actually expecting too much strength-wise. Like, I put a plate on a bunch of stuff, right?
Right.
But I was like, I guess maybe you have to do more than 1 cycle to get like the other plate. I was like,
he's expecting to be doing rows with 495.
Yeah, I was just saying I was funny, but I was, you're young. You're young. What about you, Scott?
Let me ask you guys this. So, I mean, how much of that does it really matter? I mean, like Ronnie Coleman, he managed to, I didn't know what his doses were, but you were saying he probably didn't take like much, obviously maybe he didn't take more than a gram of test or whatever for his, off season. That's what right. is that what they were saying on the Rogan show?
The question was pro level. So that just means like turning pro and being a pro. And I mean, didn't Ronnie turn pro at like 220? Like,
Well, I mean, you got to remember, I think that the question is obvious that, can it be done? Yes. And I think that's my prime answer for that is guys are way too believing the importance of the drugs and which drugs they're taking. Because I can tell you that I wasn't off season, I've always been on the lower end anyways. That's when I let my body rest and not get its ass kicked. Like, I'm planning on 16 weeks of destroying myself chemically. So it's like I don't want to donate my insides to science when I'm 40 years old.
Well, it was like, that's why I don't socially drink, because it's just a waste of liver.
Right. Yeah. It's not
so
the
it's
time. We're already doing that. No, but seriously, like when you think of it that way, so a gram, I mean, I think it's a little scary that the question is, will a gram of test, like it's a small amount, get you?
Right.
Like,
Just a gram.
Fucking right. It will get you there. It's a ton. Like, we've talked about this before. I've never seen the sense of going over a gram again, because every time I did, all I saw was sides and nothing. I didn't notice anything else.
All right.
Like I spent more money.
Well, here's the reason I was kind of getting at that, because so a guy like Ronnie, maybe he took under a gram, let's say. I'm thinking of somebody that I worked with who used maybe 500 tests, maybe 400 Masteron, a little bit of Winstrol, and that he was able to turn pro. Like he decided that he wasn't going to use Tren. He was like, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that for later.
I think that's a good idea.
And he was able to do that.
Tricks in the bag.
Like, I think he could have probably done it like without the Masteron. So we're saying like a guy who was on a little bit of test, a little bit of Winstrol. Now his physique, he was like a completely different human being than me. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess what I'm getting at is the genetic component here. Like he could do that. Me on the other hand, it would take a lot of pushing, and I don't even know if would I be able to sustain what it would take. I don't think that I could turn pro on just a small amount of gear. Some people are going to have to push more to put on the size, I think. And I think that those people just aren't meant to be pro bodybuilders. It's not like, what do you want? It's not even like a matter of like, do you try hard enough? There's a level of genetics, I think, involved here that are going to be a limiting factor. And you can work around them to an extent, but at the end of the day, it's like, you are who you are, I guess, is my thought.
Yeah. I still always remember like some of the crazy physiques I've seen that were either natural or on very little gear.
Yeah.
Like, I saw some amazing, like so insanely shredded, like ridiculous comic book shredded. And I remember back in the 90s, I saw this one dude at a show in Australia. He was ungodly, just striated fucking head, like sucked right in. Just looked like death, but his glutes and stuff just retarded. And I said to him, "What are you on, man?" Because I was young. So I was like, "What are you on?" And he goes, "Winstrol and Clen." And I was like, "Oh." He's like, "Yeah, it's Winstrol and Clen." He was like a middleweight, right?
Yeah.
But holy fuck. Like for the rest of my life, I always thought of that guy whenever I would diet. I'd be like, fuck, wonder if that's possible.
Or like, what about like Jose? Look at your friend Jose, I mean, that dude is incredible. And he was natural for a really, really long time too. So, I mean, could he turn pro under a gram of test? Absolutely. There's no,
I actually think he did multiple times, including when he took it. Here's the funny thing, and I can say this because Jose's been public about it.
Yeah.
Like, Jose didn't. Actually, he did turn pro natural.
Okay.
Yeah,
no kidding.
He did a pro show natural.
Whew.
And that was the first time that he did not, like he wasn't in the mix.
Yeah.
And then he did his first baby cycle.
Yeah.
Gained like 15 or 20 stage pounds.
Yeah.
And then was like second place or something. I can't remember what it was in his second pro show, but he was right there. So, in genetics is everything. It's like you said, Scott, it depends on how your body reacts. I'm sure you guys have seen the argument about growth. Like, oh, is it worth it? I'm like, fucking yes, it was worth it. I remember the first time I did it. I went from typical paper flat white boy muscle to like, holy shit, it's round. What the fuck is that? And just I laugh when people say, is it worth it? I'm like, what? Yes. As long as you have the fucking money.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's makes it not worth it for some people.
Yeah. If you can't afford it, it doesn't matter how good it is. I mean, I promise you, a Rolls Royce is a badass car, but your Civic's fine if you can't afford it.
Yeah.
No.
But so yeah, I think the answer is pretty easily yes, but everything is genetically dependent. So step number 1, boys and girls, is choose the right parents.
Exactly.
Well, you got more? You got more? You want me to keep rolling? I got tons.
Yeah, throw another one out there.
Fucking easy. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Oh, here's one because I haven't. I'll ask you guys. Have you ever used Ostarine, and what is your opinion?
Ron, what about you?
About this?
We've talked about females off the air using Ostarine. I know you're a fan of that, right?
Well, I am not. I wouldn't say I'm a fan. It's an option that I've worked with before.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple people love it, and then I've had several people not really notice anything at all. But I don't really program it in. I've programmed it in with a few people that I've discussed it with, but I don't really program it in anymore. I just also too. I think Osterine was like, it's one of the first ones that came out, so there's a lot more information about that one.
Yeah.
But all the other ones that are out now, I don't even know anything about them.
Yeah, I actually don't even know what this is. That's why I'm letting you guys answer.
Yeah.
Dead serious.
Yeah.
I get
It's
questions like this all the time.
yeah.
I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Kalick was on Blood, Sweat, and Gear the other week, and he said the only SARM that he likes is S4, which I've never used that. And he was saying, like, the ones that work the best are the ones that have the highest side effects. So, like, the
That's
S4.
another thing.
Shocking.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know S4, like, a long time ago, like 10 years ago, was huge in Australia. But that's all I really know about S4.
I don't know a lot about it either. I've never used SARMs. Well, I tried YK11 for a minute, and then I stopped, and I just didn't have any interest. But S4, so one of the side effects is, like, your vision turns a different color at a high dose, like yellow or red.
How do people are like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking
all right.
try that?
It's all right. It's good.
Have you ever had your vision change color from anything?
No, fuck no. I told you I got certain rules. If something affects my my other life or my vision, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
I
you can put on 10 pounds, but you're gonna leave a kitchen unsatisfied. I'm not fucking doing it.
So I've taken a couple of Viagras in my day, and I can't take Viagra because
What does it
it gives me blue vision.
What? I've heard of this, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a side effect. It's a side effect of Viagra. It's very rare, but my vision turns like totally blue, and my nose gets so clogged up I can't breathe through it. Like, so
Well, now you've got a useless.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to go to work.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not. I can't. I don't want to envision you breathing through your mouth and going to town.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. You need.
Well, of course it's hard. You took a Viagra, but what I'm saying is the breathing. You're not
So yeah, so
distracted.
I've had blue vision before, and it's like freaky because you're like, holy fuck, I hope this goes away.
I'll say
You're
with
not supposed to be thinking about that.
with all respect to the people that argue about SARMs, because I feel like there are a lot of people that argue like a religion almost. That if you say too many
Yeah.
negative things about them, they get really upset. I will say that most of the people arguing are not pro bodybuilders. That's been my observation.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I mean, it's funny because this is, on that topic. I don't know any pros that take them.
That's my point. Yeah.
Like take them at all, or so I'll get messages if people ask about something, and I legit will answer them back with what is this?
So I do
think
know.
they assume we're full of shit, but I'm just
I do know of a bunch of pros that I was talking to back in like 2007 to 2010, like in that range, and they were fooling around with Osterine when they would come off. So there was they were like bridging with it a little bit or trying to bridge with it or something. These are guys that were actually coming off. So I don't know. That was the first time I heard about it when I heard about guys using it to bridge.
Yeah, but I hate. I mean, you guys could have your opinion, but I hate the word bridge anyways because it's like that's just the addict in all of us that doesn't want to come off.
Yeah.
Or lower your dose. It's like when people say I'm just cruising on 500. I'm like 500. You're on a cycle.
Yeah.
Like, no. You know what I mean? Like, now you're just lying to yourself. Just stay at your normal dose then, if that's what you're doing. Because I do. I mean, I look at, like, if you want to bridge with some monohydrate. I mean, like, bust in some OTC stuff that you weren't using before, in my opinion. Oh, okay. Here we go.
What's the next one?
There's so many questions here. Okay, this is actually fun. Was there a particular period in either of your guys' growth where you accelerated pretty drastically, and what was it that you attribute that sped growth to?
I'm curious to hear this one too.
Yeah, so I feel like in my years of competing, I feel like I made, because I trained for like 25 years where I was, training to be a bodybuilder. There was like 3 periods where my physique took a jump to like, did it ratchet up a level. And then I would train for like a couple years and the gains were really hard to come by. And then I would like make a move. And I feel like one of them was definitely in 2009 when I worked with Chad Nichols. Because I hit 333 pounds and like I was strongest on every single thing ever. Wow. And moving a lot of weight and just eating the most food and it was the food, and there was 2 days a week that I've talked about that were really high carbs with insulin. That diet, I gained weight every single check-in for the entire off season. I did not have a single check-in where my weight was the same or less. It went up, 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 up for like fucking 7 months straight. It was just crazy. So that had to be you had to put muscle on. There's no fucking way, So that was one of them. Another one of them was, I remember when I started training, I was young, so I was only in grade 12 or just coming out of grade 12. But when I started training like Dorian, that year I got big. Like I remember I graduated at like 225, 230, and within a year I was like 255.
Right.
And I dropped my volume back and just started going absolutely ape shit on the working sets. And that like changed my physique. So that was another time I remember my body like boom.
Right.
And I don't know. What about you? You pinpoint a few things?
Scott?
Oh man. Oh dude, listen, who am I to answer this question when I'm on the show with 2 pro bodybuilders that have legitimately been a third more human being than I have size-wise.
A third more. You know what, though? I guess the reason that I was asking you specifically, Scott, is because I think what's interesting with a question like this is, aside from your first cycle, it's not about drugs.
Yeah.
It's always back to, like Ron, one thing that you nailed, and I was the exact same way. When I learned how to train and treat each set like it was my very last because there were so few, that was a game changer. In fact, there's a guy that's training at my gym that he told me he wanted to start training the way that I do, and he was going to research on it. And he listens to the show, so he's going to hate me for this. But the other day I saw him doing legs, and he went to the hack squat, and I watched him finish with 2 plates aside. And he's like, I was just smoked. And I'm like, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
Because I know your strength. And, I start with 2 plates aside as my warm-up. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? So when you get that click on the training, that one is enormous. And, of course, when you do what you already said, but if you can combine those 2 things with the nutrition where you're obsessive about it, that's to me the magic for everybody. I can remember the moment that bodybuilding was the only thing I thought about, and that's when I did these gains, because it was like, okay, do I sleep today? I have a break. Should I nap or should I eat? You know what I mean? Like, literally every decision was, how will my body, and you know what it was? I would say was, it became, how do I help my body recover? Because damage was happening. Like, I didn't need to think about that. That's second nature. And so I learned how to perfect the recovery side. That's when the jumps went up. And then with my career, which is different than yours, Ron, like, I kind of accepted my role in the bodybuilding world. And I was like, I don't really need to be any bigger. So I spent years, the last 3 years, training heavy and loving it, but staying at a place where I was comfortable. And people would probably don't realize is that was a decision. Like, now I decided I want to get bigger again, and so it's right back to all of those details, and that's why it's changing quickly. It just comes down to the food and the rest as much as humanly possible, because the training, if you're fucked in the head, you love the training no matter what.
Yeah, there's also another period where I think I took a leap, competitively took a leap anyways, but there was I worked with a coach, a Canadian coach named Scott Abel.
Yeah.
Some of the old schoolers will know him, but I worked with Scott from 2004 to 2008, and I won my first national title working with him. But it was the sort of the philosophy that I learned from him that made me better. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, he just stripped away, made things super simple. Like it just focusing on what's important. The simplicity of how things were, and very science based, and don't even worry about those things. You know, like getting rid of a bunch of the little micromanaging details that I used to think were important.
Right.
And big picturing things. That made me better. So there's also, you know, some mental stuff that improves you. You know, obviously diet and training are there, but there's other things that can make you take a leap too. You know, it's in your thinking, and, you know, just making smart decisions. They add up over time.
For sure.
I
think you're right.
I've got two thoughts I want to throw in here. First is, when you guys talk about, you know, making the right decisions. Now, you know, I've known you guys for a long time, as far as, you know, like, had you guys on podcasts and stuff, and I followed you for a long time before that. But I've had the opportunity to kind of see more of, like, who you guys are as people as we've done this podcast and worked together. And I can tell everybody out there that these two guys they take shit seriously. Like, you guys, if you say you're going to do something at a certain time, you commit to that. And I can see that it's the way that you live your lives. And I think that that's been probably a big part of the reason that both of you have been as successful as you have been. That you could have applied that to something else. Probably you chose to apply that to bodybuilding, but I think that that's a really big
worst
part.
Decision I ever made.
But I think that that's a big part of what's made you guys be able to make the progress that you've made. It's been interesting because I can say that, but it's definitely like, you can to have seen it for myself. It's like, oh, this makes a lot of sense why you guys are at where you're at, not just in like the physiques you've developed, but also in your lives, you know, your successfulness, you know, outside of just growing muscles and looking jacked, you know. So I think
appreciate that. I think that goes to one of my favorite sayings, and I can't remember when I first heard it or who first said it, but it got stuck in my head a few years ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've kind of always, that sort of like, that's what it is. That's what I like that, because I think I've been trying to live that way. And the quote is, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I always think like, you know, even little things, like if I pull laundry out of the dryer, I have to fold it and put it away.
Right.
Because I'm like, I got to finish this. Like I have to be a finisher. I have to finish things.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of people let their lives sort of become chaotic by all these little small things they don't finish.
Yeah.
Right.
And they wind up with, you know, laundry on the table and dishes in the sink and the dog bowl's dirty and there's some socks on the floor and their gym bag isn't packed for tomorrow. And it fucking adds up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it becomes a theme in your life that you're always just like, oh fuck, I always got to do this. And you just, if you can make the decision to finish everything you do, and that's why if I know I can't finish something, I don't do it.
Right.
And then you don't disappoint anyone. You don't let anyone down. You don't feel guilty. You don't disappoint yourself. You only do the things that you know you can finish.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I won't start a movie at midnight because I'm like, no, I won't be able to finish it.
Right.
You know? I start a movie at 10 o'clock. I know I can finish it. So just things like that. I think it adds up. It affects how you think.
Yeah, just like in the opposite way, you know, of the positive, I feel like that's what's, because here's the deal, is like, I've known a lot of people who've been very successful at bodybuilding for 12 weeks at a time.
Right.
You know?
Yes, exactly.
And that's just it. And I think, you know, that's just what doesn't work. And then we end up looking the same, you know, 2 years later. And I mean, I can relate to you too, Dusty. I'll throw out one thing I think that has been a game changer, and it's been recently, is having started to do these podcasts and having quit my day job like 5 years ago, I stopped focusing on my own physique as much. And I did compete in the middle of that. I did like 3 shows in a year, but I hadn't gained any size into that. If anything, I've just been maintaining. And, you know, I've been learning a lot and applying that to my clients, and it's been really cool. But then maybe about a year ago, I decided that I wanted to start growing again. And I had dieted down, and I actually got to like the lightest I'd ever been in a long time. I was like 190 pounds, and I was pretty lean. Like I could have probably done a show in another 4 weeks. But then I decided, you know, I want to start growing, you know, I want to start pushing again. And I had that click, like, cause with training, I never was able to do, like when I watched the DC stuff and I read all the threads and stuff years back, it didn't make sense to me. Like I didn't have, like the guy who was doing the 2 plates on the leg press. I tried it and I got hurt. I even remember seeing like posts of you, Dusty, back then. And it's like, it made sense to me on paper, but then to apply it in the gym, I just would get hurt. You know, it's like, this is a great idea. And then a week later, I'm like, oh my God, why did I decide to do this? My shoulder hurts.
Right.
But now that high intensity, higher frequency, low volume, it finally makes sense. And I am as heavy as I've ever been, ever. Like the last time I was this heavy was probably like 2014. And I was like using injectable D-ball and, you know, whatever else, throw all those things in there. And now it's really like I'm healthy, a little bit of test, not much, but a little bit more than extra, in the training, man, you know, moderate food in the training. And it's like at 43 now, I'm making better progress than I had years back when I was like just living, eating, breathing, bodybuilding. And that was like the only thing I did, you know. It was the training, man. It was hard to adjust to. It took me a long time to finally get that to click. I wish I would have gotten it sooner. I really do.
What do you guys? This is a question because it's come up on my page a few times since I started this push. John Meadows has been on maybe even one of your podcasts, but I don't know, on some podcasts talking about how guys when they're older should not be pushing for size, should not be pushing their eating. And basically that it could possibly toss their entire physique. And I had a guy in a really good way bring that up to me, like, aren't you worried about this? And it's funny because I was like, well, I completely disagree. And the reason is because I think guys are forgetting it's what have you been doing up until that point? Like if I've been jamming food and trying to grow and it wasn't working, and now I was just taking more food and more drugs and all that, then it would be like, oh shit, like, of course you're going to blow out your waistline or you know, or just basically ruin your physique. The difference is, like, I put up a day of eating the other day, and I think it threw people off because they're like, holy shit, a bunch of food. I never do the math on my calories, so I decided to do it.
Okay.
It was 5,600. It's not that much. Then I asked my training partner, because he's a fucking genius, and he was like, yeah, you're just above maintenance for your weight.
Huh.
Yeah, mathematically on paper,
Yeah, so it's like, it's one of those things where people don't realize
the Mountain Dew. I love the Mountain Dew whey isolate post-workout.
Right. I saw that too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what people don't get, though, is it's like, that's just to get the calories there, and it's not excessive. It just looks excessive when you're 190 pounds and you know what you eat.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like right now, I mean, I just got a DEXA scan done just to see where I was at. And at 301, I was 11.2%.
No kidding.
So it's like, you know, it's really not that excessive, you know, and I haven't pushed for size in 3 or 4 years for real.
So
body's
if
healthier than usual. And
if you were 0% fat and dead, you'd be 270.
Yeah. which also is one of those things where it was funny because I was the guy before I go in there and he was like, so what do you think your body fat's at? And I said 11 or 12. And we get on it and he runs the whole thing and he goes, no one ever does that. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, everyone guesses lower than they are by like 3%.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Because he'll have like competitive bodybuilders come in, they're like, probably like 2%. He's like, you're 6.
Right. Or
Like,
they
you know what I mean?
8. They think they're 8 in off season.
Yeah, exactly. So
13.
But yeah, I mean, so what is your guys' take on I guess what my view of that is it depends on your gym years and what you've been doing. But what do you guys think across the board on that topic? Do you just call it a day when you're 36, 37?
Well,
and don't try to grow anymore, or what?
Well, I mean, every car has an undetermined number of miles on it when you buy it.
Right.
You know, I mean, you remember that commercial when I was a kid of the Toyota truck, and it was like a real dude that owned it, and they used this real truck in a commercial, and it was like 27 years old. It had rust in it and stuff, and they showed the farmer using it, and it had like, it had like 500,000 miles on it or something like that. And they were just like, they're using that as an example of their quality, right? So some people got 500,000 miles on them. You know, some people don't. I don't know. It's just how it works. You know, how many jumps do you have if you're a skydiver?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a solid way to look at it, because it really is also how do you feel when you're training? You know, like I've told you, Ron, that over the last few years, because of the therapies I do, like I'm like, holy shit, like this is what I felt like when I was starting this.
Yeah.
You know,
just like one of my favorite Johnny Jackson quotes was, I was standing with Johnny at like a waiting for taxi, and this guy was talking to him. He's like, hey, I remember when you pulled 835 in Corpus Christi at that meet, and you know, you dropped the bar and they gave you red lights, so you had to pull it again.
Oh man.
And so you took like 5 minutes and you came back and you fucking pulled it again. And he goes, yeah. And Johnny goes, yeah. And I tore my hamstring doing it or whatever. and then the guy goes, that must have been tough to do it twice in the same day. And he goes, well, you only have so many 800-pound deadlifts. And I was like, ooh, fuck, that's true. You only have so many. So you had to use up 2 that day.
and that is fucking true. and like you said with the Toyota truck, we don't know when our last 800-pound deadlift day is.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, I don't know. It's that's just how life is. How do you make all those decisions? You know, statistics do weigh on my mind. So when I turned 40, I was like, okay, I'm 40 now. So probably not a good idea to be 300 pounds for too much longer.
Right.
What are you weighing now, Ron? You're looking pretty lean.
Well, I was 254 on
Jesus.
Friday morning. Wow. Sorry. Yeah. Friday morning, I was 254.
Yeah.
And really sucked out and pretty ripped. And like I'm getting striations in my teardrops now on my quads and stuff. For me, that's lean. And so I had my high carb day. I started Friday night, actually, and ate Friday night and all day Saturday. I ate tons of fucking food. And then this morning I was 264.
Right. That's not bad at all, actually.
So I held a good 10 pounds after that weekend. And then by the end of this week, I'll probably be down again.
Nice.
So I'm getting leaner doing this. It's kind of fun.
Nice.
You're enjoying toying with it now. But it's not even like you're prepping, because you're just living.
Yeah, just having fun. I'm like, well, Emily's away for a week. So Emily went to see her mom. So I've been home with the dog alone batching. And and I thought, I'm going to see if I can get a little extra ripped. I want her to notice.
I want her to notice.
Just trying to get noticed, Dusty. Trying to get noticed.
If she listens to the show, she's going to make sure not to say anything now.
Oh, she doesn't listen to this. Are you kidding?
Oh, come on. She's a huge fan of me.
Didn't sit through it. Yeah, it's me.
If she could mute you, she would totally listen. All right. Okay. We got more. Okay. Oh, this is actually good. Why are PEDs more used during a cut than a bulk, even if muscle gain is much harder than losing fat? It's a good question.
That is a good question.
Well, the idea is to diet so hard you actually, like, what is contest prep? It's controlled starvation. Let's be honest.
Right.
So you're in a controlled starvation. You're just trying to hold as much muscle as possible. So that's why the PEDs tend to go up. And then, of course, they're adding the fat burning metabolic PEDs and all that stuff. I mean, who knows? Maybe in 10 years we'll look back and we'll think half the shit they're taking is hocus pocus, and maybe it'll be way worse. I don't know.
Right. What do you think, Scott, when you're with your clients? Like, how do you look at that decision?
You know what? I feel like my opinion's probably evolved over time. I use less now. I I don't think that I've needed as much as maybe I thought in the past. You know, like when you first get started, anybody who's like on the boards is going to look at, you know, like the steroid profiles and all that. And you're like, okay, so test is going to do this. And then I'm going to use the trend to achieve this effect. And then I'm going to use the Masteron to achieve this, you know. But in reality, you diet down, you use some gear. I don't know. I think that what it is, the reason people use more when they're dieting is that they don't want to risk not getting something out of it. Like every show that I've ever competed at, I'll admit this, I've used Halo every time. It just for like the last 2-3 weeks. But the reason I've used it is because I don't want to know what could happen. What would happen if I didn't use it? Am I going to miss out on something if I didn't use the Halo?
I think a lot of stuff is kind of like that with a lot of people.
I think so. Yeah.
But, you know, do you want to be the one that, you know, do you want it to be that one show where you don't use a Halo and then the judges are like, man, that other guy was just a little harder than you. Right. That's why I went with him.
It's a competitive, it's that competitive thing, you know? So, yeah, you know, I think we could probably use a lot less.
So I used to always add the Halo in too.
Okay.
But my main thing was that I believed in taking quite a long time. Like I would take a full week with no shots.
Right.
Because a couple of times I took shots within that last week.
Learned you.
I do not know what the fuck your body's going through, why, or is it just, you know, luck of the draw? But I had like 3 or 4 times where I had a bad shot in the last 7 days. And it's like, you'd have no bad shots a whole fucking year. And then you have one within 7 days of the show. And I was like, so after it happened a couple times, I like stopped doing anything. I even went 10 days a couple times and didn't take any shots for 10 days and would just use like Halo and Proviron and, you know, whatever, throw a bunch of stuff in that last week. And, you know, been really, really happy with how I looked. But, you know, once you have a bad shot, it's the worst at a show.
Yeah, now you're worried that one shot could kill your entire prep.
Yeah, you just after it happens to you and you get all the stress you have to go through, you just say fuck it. I'd rather just be, you know, strided everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
So, you know, that's why I was through in the Halo and stuff.
Right. I think for me, what I look at is at the end of the day, the goal is muscle. So we're either trying to put on muscle or maintain muscle, and there's 3 things that are responsible for that: the training, the food or the excess of calories, and the drugs. I always say you need 2 of the 3. So in the off season, we got the training, we got the food, so the drugs don't need to be as high. But in pre-contest, we don't have food.
Yeah,
right.
We got training. It might be time to up the gear. So something to protect it, because if you think about it, if you take the training away and you're on a bunch of drugs and you're not eating enough, what do you get?
Yeah.
Nothing. Same thing. So if you eliminate 2 of them at any time, the results are gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
So even if you want to argue that they're all equal in their value, you have to have 2 of the 3 to get what you're looking for. So I think when you're in prep and you're in extreme deficit of calories, what are we doing to protect the muscle then? Because the training can't lessen, or else we're going to lose it even faster. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And we're really looking at recovery. You know, so I don't really think. I mean, Halo, for example, is different. Oh, dogs are going to fight right now. The Halo is different because I always just say that's what turns me into sandpaper. Like, I'm already peeled, but when it looks like you have goosebumps all the time, that's pretty cool on stage.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But I mean, other than that, when you're talking about the majority of the drugs, I think it's just enough to protect the muscle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the food's not there. So, what do you got for questions, Ron? You got some more laying around there, some old schools?
Well, yeah, mine. I only had a few, but they were kind of funny.
Hit them. We need some humor.
Yeah, we need some. It's so it says, I'm thinking of doing my first cycle. How much should I expect my sex drive to go up?
Whew.
Wow.
500%.
Just prepare her.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key. That's going to be the key for sure. And hopefully you have a girl that thinks that this is a good thing.
Right.
You know, or that she has friends. Either or.
Oh, speaking of which,
So-
I have a question about porn stars. on the show.
Oh, okay.
I'll hold
for you,
that.
Ron.
I will hold that, but I wanted to throw it out there so I don't forget.
Okay. So let's expand on this sex drive increase thing. What do you think it is? You think it triples? See,
Easily.
Emily says that I'm like living with a 16-year-old.
That's a hell of a compliment.
She's like, you're 16. Because I walk around and I like poke her with my dick, and fucking bother her. Like she'll be cooking, and I'll come up behind her and like hump her leg, and she just like looks at me. She's like, "What the fuck?
What is wrong with you? There's something wrong with you, sir." No, I mean, I literally would say, yeah, 300% is not a crazy guess.
No.
You know what I mean? At all. I mean, basically, I always look at it like what's an average man's testosterone. Now get your blood work done. Okay, you're 3 of him. See,
There you
all
go.
set.
You're all set."
Now you know. I had to bring Harvey up because they were fighting. Sorry.
Aw.
Harvey, you're in.
And then there's also like, I'm sure Scott, you've coached a lot of girls.
Yes.
You've coached a lot of girls. So how many times have you had that discussion where a female client comes to you and they're like, that 5 milligrams of Anavar I'm on? You're like, yeah. And they're like, is that supposed to like make me like crazy? And you have that kind of laugh. You're like, well, yeah, it can. It's always funny when and then when the girls say stuff like, oh my God, now I know what it's like to be a guy.
Yeah. I've
Isn't
heard
that funny to hear from them?
But I think that's also where you get that slippery slope where some of these guys should not be coaching their wives and girlfriends because they're having ulterior motives for their supplement.
More Anavar, more. Yeah.
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 I mean, literally, because I've had women come to me and I'm like, who fucking wrote this for you?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, my ex-boyfriend. I'm like, oh, got it.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't planning on sticking around, but he was definitely going to enjoy his time while he was there. Like, holy shit. So,
Yeah.
no, sex drive will fire through the roof for sure. And the good news is you don't have to worry about the 5-minute rule anymore. She's going to be happy.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
I was listening to a radio show here called Dave Chuck the Freak, and they had, I sent this to Ron. I don't know if you listened to it, Dusty, but this guy had an issue. He said this is like his worst nightmare. He said he met a porn star, this is Metro Detroit area, who lives in Metro Detroit, met her and her husband, and they couldn't say her name on the show, but they said her last name
He's
is...
a cop, so I got it.
Last name is Lust. So
Yeah.
anyway, so they meet at the bar or whatever. I think they went to the same gym or something. They go out to the bar. One thing led to another, and they are in now a foursome back at the house or the hotel. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get it up. Like no matter what happened, he was just like major stage fright, and he ended up crying and leaving the room.
Unbelievable.
And then 4 years later, he told this story on the radio, which, I mean, I guess he had some serious acceptance going on by that point. But I immediately thought about the show because Ron is friends with a porn star. He promised us a porn star. And then we've had...
She is not delivered yet.
Listen, we've had people on the YouTube, like, where's the porn star? We haven't seen her yet.
I know.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
No
right?
pressure.
No, that was a funny fucking story. So he said he was watching, like, obviously his wife and Kendra were going at it. Or his wife and the porn star were going at it.
Yeah.
And then they swapped. And so her husband was banging his wife. And he had this porn star. And she's like, you can do anything you want to me. And he was like, fuck.
And I can do nothing to you.
Damn.
And the radio show guys really played it up because they were like, and so the guy that's now banging his wife is the husband of a porn star. So you know that this dude's just like going to town and he's standing there.
Or he's watching there crying.
Yeah. Worst story ever.
So here's where the thinking has to get creative. So she said, this is what my first thought. She says, you can do anything you want to me, and he can't get it up. So if I were him, I would have switched gears and just like started doing things to her.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. You said anything I wanted, that's what I wanted.
Buy yourself some time. Maybe you you can relax your head. Maybe you get her toy box. I'm sure it's quite interesting. Just start doing things you want to do to her, and then just see what happens. Maybe you relax a bit, and then maybe you can fix the situation. I don't know.
And this goes back to my mindset on a pro theory earlier on in the show.
Yeah, you never give up. You never give up. Buy yourself some time. Do what you got to do. Or how about, what if you just go over to the porn star husband and just say, hey, bud, you got like a Viagra or something?
There you go.
What do you got?
Like,
10 minutes.
the blue vision and the clogged nose for that.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Would it be worth it for the the porn star experience?
Like certain situations, you
just see blue.
Caution to the wind. Exactly.
I'm not gonna start being scared of side effects now.
Yeah.
After all this time.
Just totally threw a lid at my dog. Sorry. It was caught on live.
We'll get a replay on that, guys.
Yeah, make sure to do that slow motion as I throw a Gatorade lid right in his face, and now he's entertained.
Now he goes and fetches it and brings it back to you.
Yeah, exactly. But they're done now, so it worked. My Child Protective Service is coming soon, but at least he shut up for a minute on the show. It's
so next question.
Yes. Do you have more, or do you want me to keep rolling here?
Oh, you go this one.
Thank God you have me. Oh, here we go. This is good. How long would you use insulin for?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Can't be much more gray than that question, huh?
Yeah, it's impossible to answer that. I think I'm not a very big fan of insulin, so I don't know. Try to, get as far as you can without using it. Maybe there's a few things you could try. That's so hard to say.
Well, let's get specific then.
I think insulin is probably safest to use when you don't use it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's one thing. I don't know.
So
I found that the thing that worked best for me was just to push real full for 1 day at a time.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think, Scott?
Well, that's what I was going to kind of probe deeper into that, because you had mentioned earlier when you hit 330 working with Chad, you did two big refeed days a week, and you used it just on those days then?
Yeah, just on those days. And I didn't even train those days.
Okay. So basically, and that worked, apparently. You hit 330.
My weight went up every single week.
Yeah.
It was definitely work to gain weight.
Right.
The pumps weren't ridiculous. I still remember at that body weight, I'd do one warm-up set of laterals, and my shoulders I'd be in agony for the entire shoulder workout. I'd have to put my arms up on stuff between every set, and I was like, holy fuck, is this what this is like to be this heavy?
Right.
Yeah, and I never ever got that, obviously, those pumps come and go, and we've all experienced that crazy shoulder pump, but I remember at that body weight, it was every week.
Right.
Wow. So that was just 2 times a week. And because you see the old school methods you'd read on the boards would be you use it 3 weeks on, then 3 weeks off, and now I feel like people just use it constantly. They're on it all the time, and honestly, back in the day, I would have thought it would have been impossible, because you're huge, 330 pounds. It's got to be a ton of insulin, but you're saying that at the end of the day, it's not that big. Dusty, what about you, man?
I think that's, first off, you nailed it. I think a lot of people believe that insulin is more effective than it is. I think that if you ask the average, you'll see it all the time. People, will bring up, is insulin is the issue for here, or that's the secret from stepping up. Number one, that's not accurate. But number two, there's different types of insulin. If I had somebody taking something longer term, then they'd be using something like Lantus, which is a 22-hour half-life. So when you take Lantus, it's going to get to its peak and stay there for 22 hours. It's not something that you necessarily have to take post-workout or pre-workout. I mean, you can literally take it with your first meal and call it a day. Plus, if you dig deeper into something like that, you'll see that there's a lot of evidence that pushes towards IGF-1 conversion. And then back to what I said earlier, I also think if you're taking insulin, you're not using growth, you're on a speedway to fatness.
Right,
I mean, because that's I think the danger with most people who ask me about insulin is what they're doing is they're chasing a scale. Which is funny because I keep putting out there 320, but it's 320 because that's a weight I believe I'll be functioning at well, training well at, but it's not crazy heavy. If I got to 315 and my low was an issue, I'm not going to push to 320.
Yeah.
Right.
Like once it affects training. So I think that's the issue. A lot of people that are taking insulin is they're like, I got to be 280, and they're 250 pounds. And they get to 280, but their lean body mass went up 2 pounds, and they gained 28 pounds of additional fat to see that scale number. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's the big issue is when most people are seeing insulin, they're thinking about getting bigger. They're thinking anabolic.
Yeah.
I think anti-catabolic.
Yeah.
When you're looking at insulin. And that's where people are fucked up is they're literally thinking anabolic. And if you don't understand the difference, don't take insulin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's truly an anti-catabolic. Like if you dig into insulin a little bit, it doesn't have properties to make you put on muscle.
No, it's just a storage hormone.
Yeah. So I used to tell people that like the oversimplification is when you say you're taking your insulin post-workout for whatever reason, when you drink your Mountain Dew after you train, you're saying, here, body, here's some sugar. Please take it. When you take insulin with your Mountain Dew, you're saying, take this fucking carb. And you're jamming it down its goddamn throat.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the problem is, again, like Ron said, and also you, is it's a short burst thing. Because insulin sensitivity changes. There's so many factors that people aren't thinking about.
Yeah. And
then that's when they start to see lessened results. I don't even want to call it a side effect, but more body fat gain and basically less and less reward for what they're expecting. I think insulin is much up there like what you were saying, Ron, about your first cycle. Like people's expectation of what's going to happen when they add insulin is so high, and you're kind of like, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Well, most people are disappointed with everything they try the first time because everything's hyped up so much.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're disappointed with their new program. They're disappointed with their new supplement. They're disappointed with their new drug. They're disappointed with, they added a rest day and thought it would make all the difference in the world. And like, I don't know, most people expect too much because they don't put enough in. So,
well, they don't know what they're supposed to get,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
I used to own supplement stores, and I'll never forget at one point a guy came in and he puts an essentially empty protein powder on my counter, and he's like, I want to return this. And I was like, well, it's empty. And he's like, yeah, but it didn't work. I was like, didn't work? What did you think it was going to do?
I don't look like you.
You know what I mean? And he was dead. I mean, he was dead serious that the protein didn't put muscle on him like it was supposed to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I'm like, it's food.
Yeah.
And it's empty. I mean, number one, I'm going to try to return the 2 ends of my bread tomorrow for a full refund because I don't really like the butts.
Was this like a kid?
I mean,
was it like, how old was this guy? I'm just trying to picture.
This was a guy. No, I mean, it's literally, and that is a normal thing. I used to have people come in with creatine. It didn't work.
Huh.
And the problem is they truly didn't, like their expectations of what a protein powder was going to do were ridiculous. And it's the same thing with insulin, with growth, with all the drugs, because again, at the end of the day, it's why a lot of our listeners think that everyone on these shows are full of shit, because we keep going back to the training. They're like, well, you're downplaying the drugs. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you they don't do shit if you don't do the other things also.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I would never, people say I'm downplaying drugs, but at the same time, they're shocked when I tell them when I admit to using them. And I'm like, I'm 300 fucking pounds and 5'10".
Yeah, no.
The fact that you ask me, I'm honored. But yes, there were drugs involved.
It's funny.
So I will say,
so it is interesting.
I used insulin for an off season and did really well with it. When I went from middleweight to light heavy, I was on stage at 173 one year, and then the following year, I was on stage at 194. And it's a pretty good jump. I wasn't quite as lean. I could have probably been maybe a few pounds less, but I mean, it was over 10 pounds of stage weight. There's no question. But here's the deal too. I worked a really labor intensive job, so I was burning through a lot of calories. I have a real fast metabolism to begin with, and I'm probably at that point, at least, I wasn't ever going to get fat no matter what I did. So for my body type, it worked really well. But for a lot of people, I think that, as you guys were already mentioning, like the fat gain thing, it can be a disaster. And especially for somebody who has that mindset of getting bigger, because a lot of the people that I've worked with, guys say that are non-competitors and they just want to, they come to you, and you guys I think have said this on other shows, they come to you and they're like, hey, I want to get bigger, but they're already maybe a little bit too heavy on the body fat to begin with. If you take someone like that and you introduce insulin, then you're going to have some serious problems,
Yeah, there's always an exception. Like, there's always a guy that it works really well for and he didn't get fat at all. I mean, like that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I got another one here that I found in my screenshots from a while back.
There we go.
What are some interesting Instagram pages you guys follow that we might not know about?
Ooh, let's see. I got a glance here.
Yeah, I got to grab my phone.
I just followed gym fitness posts.
Yeah, that's what I love about Instagram is you can just dive into someone's stuff and see what they follow. You're like, oh, interesting. Let's see. I want to get. Okay, I know one. I don't know where it's at, but there's one called Plastic Perfection.
Oh, okay.
Which is just implants, where it lists the size of the girl's implants and invites you to come follow her page as well. And I do that in support of all the good doctors out there.
Okay, so you're a plastic surgeon fan, trying to support the plastic surgeons.
It's the least I could. Well, shit, I've supported them with like 30 or 40 grand in my life. I figure, why not?
Yes, okay. That's funny.
But I mean, it's interesting because, truthfully, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. It's probably easier to just scroll. Like, I literally it's like my music. It's all over. Like, I wonder if they ever got into my music library or my Instagram, they would be like, is this more than one person?
Right.
Because you're following Plastic Perfection, you're following tattoo places, you're following what appears to be a lot of gay porn because it's a bunch of bodybuilders, and then random poetry shit, because I love quotes and things like that. And sometimes I'll put them up. And it's funny, I'll share some really cool ones sometimes, and I realize in my head that people are like, oh, he must be going through something. I'm like, oh, no, I just thought that was cool. It's just less socially acceptable to share the random girl's great implants, so I don't put those ones up as much.
Okay. So you got tattoo places. Let's get some main genres. You follow tattoos, you follow boobs, you follow dogs. You probably follow some cute dog pages.
Of course.
Cute dog pages.
Yeah, I've got my like I said, my quotes.
Your quotes, inspirational quotes, yes.
And you know what else I'm following now, which is really cool, is Tommy Shelby from my show has his own page, which is obviously not actually him, but so that's good shit.
Who?
You don't know who Tommy Shelby is?
No,
I don't either.
You guys don't watch my Peaky Blinders?
Oh,
I've heard of that show. I haven't seen it.
I've heard it's awesome though. Yeah.
How do I hang up this? It's the one in the middle? Fuck. You guys got to watch that shit.
I've been tempted to start it. I heard it was good.
I'm going to warn you. It takes 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Because the first episode is too much of they're just introducing everyone, so you don't really get a feel. Like, I watched the first one, and I'm a quick bailer. I can't give you 47 minutes twice if it wasn't good. And for whatever reason, I watched the second episode, and now it's heroin.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, that guy's the main character of that show has got his own little thing that somebody put up. It's kind of like I follow that Bodybuilding and Bollocks page that one of Fuad's fans created.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it because I get all of my like favorite moments are popped up every now and then, and it just kills me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. That's good stuff. I'll have to check that show out.
Yeah.
What?
Don't lie. Look at me. He's following Plastic Perfection
Right,
as we
right.
speak.
I'm not
That's why he's
following
not
Plastic
answering.
Perfection.
Well,
I'm going to
yeah.
come to your page. He's going to follow it.
So I actually have to admit, I actually unfollowed a bunch of like super like hot fitness IG chicks. You know, the ones that have like millions of followers?
Yeah.
Yes.
I unfollowed some of them. I was like, I just don't need that.
Okay.
Just-
okay.
Yeah, because I just don't want to contribute. I'd rather follow local. Right? Support. I'm just kidding.
Really glad Emily doesn't listen now. It's just that I started to
Support
realize I
local,
was never
you know?
actually going to sleep with any of these women, so I
No,
stopped.
yeah. I realized, it was just such a pain. So I follow like a ton of garage gyms.
Oh,
like, dudes
yeah.
that have garage gyms and they make their own pages.
Right.
And then, like just a bunch of that sort of stuff. I follow like every gym I've ever been to and fucking probably another 200 gyms worldwide. And then I really like the National Geographic pages.
Yes, Nature's Metal. Holy shit.
Oh, Nature's Metal, that's one?
You don't have that one?
No.
Yeah. Like a head of a coyote in the mouth of a
Oh,
fucking
okay. Nature's Metal.
Nature
Check
is
that one
metal.
out.
Nature is
You guys dive in on that. Sorry, that's one I left out.
Oh.
Amazing.
My phone heard you.
I will vouch for Ron that I follow a bunch of like garage gym pages too. And every time I find one of those, I look at the first post and it says that it was liked by Rep 300. Ron was
funny.
already there. Yeah.
You're an active supporter also, Ron. That's good to see.
So you know what else I follow?
What?
I follow a whole bunch of like classic BMX pages.
Oh, yeah.
You know
We
what I
talked
mean?
about
Like,
that the other week.
Yeah, so like that 1987 GT Pro Performer, like, and I know that because I could see it. I'm like, oh, that's an 87 because I can see the frame bend, and I know
Why
the
would
year
you fucking know that?
because I'm a BMX nerd. I'm like,
But you're also an equipment nerd. Like I will literally. I had a friend that was selling equipment.
Yeah.
Out of her gym, and I literally text Ron like, I need you. It's like,
What are
what? I'm
these
like,
worth?
how much does this cost? Because she's asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. So I just hit Ron, and he'd give me like a window.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
to this. Does it have this? I'm like, how do you know this?
No, he
about
knows
this?
everything about equipment. It's creepy. It's amazing.
I was laughing because she
Does
was
it-
like.
does it have round tubing or square tubing? Because that'll tell us what generation it is.
No, but it'd be so funny because she's like, so he doesn't think I can get two. I said, if he doesn't say two, don't get two. You won't get it.
Did she
Not gonna
get?
happen.
Did she sell
Yeah,
everything?
cleaned house. Well, because it was also during this.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
the timing was flawless. So she had about 60K worth of shit. And she rolled it through. And some of it I wanted to buy. I was like, God,
Yeah.
maybe keep that one for me, huh? No? Yeah? No?
Yeah. So it's funny. I was walking in the park yesterday, and so I follow all these BMX pages, right? And I'm walking in the park yesterday, and I'm right by my house with the dog, and I'm coming up to like the public restrooms, and I see this vintage 1984, I know the year, freestyle bike. Won't bore you with the brand, but I look at it and I'm like, holy shit, it's just leaning against a tree. And it's easily worth, you could sell it online for probably $5,000
Holy shit.
For a bicycle.
because it's rare, hard to find. It looked fucking beautiful. The guy had restored it. It was just awesome.
Wow.
And then I look on the lawn and there's 4 more. And they're all like mid 80s classic BMX bikes, all restored, new decals, painted, like nice clean wheels. They're all like, they look like you could show them.
That's decals for you Americans?
I was
Correct.
I was doing the same thing. I was processing that one.
Yeah, that's so funny. So I look up and there's this one dude standing there and he's got green gloves on and he had green mag wheels on his bike. So I go, is this your bike? And he goes, yeah. And I start talking to him about BMX bikes. And his whole family comes out of the restroom, his wife and his 3 kids. And they all get on these classic BMX bikes.
Huh.
And they're like just out for a family ride. Turns out he's a huge collector. He's got one of the biggest collections in North America. He lives like not far from me. He's a realtor in the area.
Holy shit.
And every Sunday, him and his family pick 5 different bikes because he's got so many bikes, and they go for a cruise.
$100,000 worth of bicycles in his garage, and he decides to take them out.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I exchanged information. We started following each other on Instagram. It was just funny. And he was just shocked that, like, here comes this big meathead, right?
Yeah, and you knew what he was riding.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, is this an 86? And he looks at me, he's like, almost, it's an 85. And I go, oh, okay. And then we start talking, and he was blown away. It was pretty funny.
So guys, cool. I've been telling the listeners that Ron is the king of useless information, and it is proven time and time again.
I was bugging Dusty this week. I was on a bit of a kick. I started watching. You know who Matt Hoffman is, right, Scott?
I don't know.
Okay, he's like the king of ramp riding. He's like the
Canada. I didn't know where we're. Yeah, okay, I know of him. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Michael Jordan of BMX. He like invented all the hardest tricks and kind of set the standard, all that stuff. Anyways, I found these old interviews on YouTube and a couple new interviews on YouTube, and I just started watching them while I was eating. And he was talking about all his injuries, so I started texting Dusty. I was like, "Holy fuck! Just you guys gotta look him up and watch some interviews, because we think we get injuries. Holy fuck!"
Oh yeah.
I've only been stitched up without Novocaine once, and I didn't do it, Ron. So it doesn't count. Yeah. He did it himself on the regular.
yeah, it's just funny. Just you want to hear some good gorilla stuff? Go check it out.
Yeah, I'll forward you one of the videos he sent me, Scott. I mean, to have someone that decides just to see if they can handle the pain.
Yeah.
If they can do a surgery.
Oh my god.
While awake.
Oh my god.
And no anesthesia.
Huh. Okay, yeah.
Just a local, so he doesn't feel him break the skin. But after that, you're in.
Jeez.
Yeah, he had a doctor. He had a doctor drill through a bone in his leg and put in a synthetic ACL tendon without anesthesia.
Oh my god!
And
just because he wanted to see if he could. Anesthesia. Oh, okay.
No, yeah. He blew his ACL.
Yeah.
And it took a year to rehab it.
Okay.
1 year later, he got back on his bike, and the first day on the half pipe, he blew it again.
You're kidding me. Oh,
and he
my
goes,
God.
There's no way I can wait another year.
Yeah.
So he found this experimental surgery out of France where they put a synthetic ACL in, bolt it to each end of the bone, and you're back in action within a week.
Okay.
Yep.
But they wouldn't do it in the States because it's not FDA approved. So he paid the doctor to mail the synthetic ligament to Montreal, and he took the bus up to Canada, and he paid a doctor $10,000 cash to do the surgery, but he couldn't afford an anesthesiologist.
Wow.
So he just did it without.
That's baller.
Drilled into a fucking bone with no anesthesia.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Bone, feed the tendon through the drill bit.
Yeah.
And then pull the drill bit out the other end and leave the tendon hanging out, and then bolt it to both ends. Damn. The ligament, I mean. And then bolt it to both ends of the bone.
Yeah.
All without anesthesia.
I got to see this.
Don't forget, there was only the doctor in there, so the doctor asked him to help him stabilize the leg while he did it. So while they're drilling and you're dealing with the pain, helping the process.
And he said it looked like corned beef was coming out of the drill bit, like
oh my god,
bone and marrow and blood and shit. It was disgusting.
Holy shit.
And then he said 1 week later he was back on his bike.
And he's all right after that?
It's never torn again.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still not approved in the FDA. The FDA still hasn't approved it, I guess.
I had ACL replacement when I was, I think, 19. And at the time, they used a piece of the patellar tendon from my other knee. So I was in a wheelchair with both legs, like totally immobile for 30 days. I mean, it recovered, it healed up, but I mean, that was a completely different scenario. They do it all in the same knee now. So like if you get ACL, you think you're back like on crutches at least 3 days later. So
yeah, there's but they still do the hamstring one a lot.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of guys have that little extra little notch in their hamstring from having a chunk taken out. But they also have one where they take a sponge. It's like a little round sponge, like a cylinder, and they stuff the torn end of the ACL in the bottom of the sponge, and they stuff the torn end of the ACL in the top part of the sponge.
Yeah.
And then they inject the sponge with stem cells. And it just turns into a new ligament. The whole thing just grows into a new ligament.
Huh.
And the sponge just gets dissolved.
Ron just knows this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We go to dinner. I don't even talk. I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Let's talk about tigers today.
Did you see? Speaking of taggers,
See.
so
And there it is.
I'm going through Instagram and I get to Brad Rowe's Instagram,
Yeah.
and he's out like shark diving with Mike Tyson.
What?
Who doesn't do that?
Right. So everyone's commenting like, "What the fuck?" He's on a boat with Mike Tyson, right? And I wrote like, "Holy fuck, dude, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a long story." I'm like, "Oh, it's a long story."
Yeah, I guess.
And then I
They
said,
became friends when Brad stole his tiger drunk one night. in
right.
Vegas.
That was my comment. I said, "Let me know if you find a tiger in your bathroom."
So there it is. See. Yeah. So no, Brad's been doing the new fit work with Mike, with his machine. So that's how they kind of became friends, and now he's. I didn't know that the tigers were out and sharks were cool now, but that's good to know.
Damn.
Fuck, my life is boring. Every now and then I get reminded, like Yorkies aren't the most hardcore thing. I have no idea.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think so. Here's another thing. I don't think they were cage diving. I think they were diving with sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, there's
hunt boars with a knife. You can't fucking get in a cage. That's weak.
fuck, dude.
It depends on the kinds of sharks too.
Yeah.
I did that in the Bahamas, where you just go down there.
A bunch of little reef sharks.
Yeah, exactly. They're like the biggest ones for like 6 feet. I mean, granted, they still have big mouths; they could tear you up, but they're not like the great whites or the tiger sharks and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Still taller than me.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't want to get in with a goddamn shark.
I mean,
that might be hungry.
Even the little ones, they're still.
Yeah,
I
man.
want
They
to
got
swim with
teeth.
Nemo, dude.
Take your fucking finger off. So I follow there's a married couple that are shark preservationists, and they're just unfucking believable. It's Ocean Ramsey and Juan Sharks.
Huh.
And you got to follow both of them because then you just get all their amazing photos. But they dive with great whites.
Holy
they
shit.
fucking pet them with them, grab their fins, swim with, like they're another whole level of just like, what the fuck? You watch all their
That's
videos,
nuts.
crazy stuff.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Can either of you? How are you swimming? Being bodybuilders, having muscle.
I have always been like, I was a good athlete. I was pretty, I could play any sport. Horrible swimmer. Could never swim to save my life.
Okay. Do you sink?
There's something about me. Yeah, I sink. So I remember when I was a little kid, I used to just be able to sit on the bottom of the pool, and everyone else would be like, "Holy shit, Ron could sit on the bottom of the pool," and I just sit down there and hold my breath, and it was like a party trick.
Yeah.
He's like, but actually, I can't fucking swim.
I'm just gonna die.
Yeah, I can tread
I can
water.
still
for,
swim.
I
Okay.
can tread water. I could tread water for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's fucking.
Yeah, I can still swim. The only thing is like I just recently was diving again, and when I was a kid, I always had a pool with a diving board and all that shit. And let's just say it's nothing you do is graceful once you're this size. And you like, I dove and I was like, that was pretty good. And then I saw the video and I was like, that was what the fuck was that? I mean, it literally is just like, oh, it's like a reminder that you suck at everything except for bodybuilding. Once you literally, it's just so pathetic when you see something like that. Because I mean, I literally my entire life had a pool.
Yeah.
And so it felt similar.
Okay.
It did not look similar.
Well, I was kind of taking a poll because I used to be able to swim really well. I can't swim. Like, I just sink now too. Like, if there was a flood or whatever, I would be at the bottom. There's no question.
Yeah. So, what's funny though is I think it's also something that bodybuilders should do if they can. It's awesome for the joints, for the spine. Like, to not to wade around the pool, to actually, like, if you can use swimming as cardio.
Huh.
Right.
Number one, it's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
But it's actually awesome for your body. There's no impact. Hele won the Wings of Strength last year. That was her cardio for the entire prep.
No kidding.
Really.
Swimming. Yep.
It's also the only thing where you're spending some time, I guess, sort of decompressing your spine.
Yep. No, everything about it. I mean, I started there's a pool right by us, a actual like Olympic pool you can go to. You just pay a monthly thing. I've been doing it to help my mobility in the shoulders again.
Ah.
Just to get things moving because one thing that they don't tell you, and I know, Ron, you can attest to this, is like, if I could go back in time when I first started bodybuilding, I would have been obsessive about staying mobile.
Yeah.
Because there's just certain things, I was like, between my shoulder surgery and then just letting myself get big, there's certain things like, I'm impressed when somebody takes a 225-pound barbell, lifts it up over the head and puts it on the traps to do a lunge.
Oh, yeah.
I have two people, sure. I hold it, I lift it up over my head, and then they pull it back behind my neck and put it down for me. It drags down my head.
Yeah.
I'm bleeding profusely.
I just don't do them.
Literally, I was telling Lance, the guy that owns the gym I'm at, that I'm going to buy 2 of the jack type stands for squat racks.
Yeah.
And put them on either end of the thing so I can just rack it.
Yeah.
And take them off from there. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Because I can't do it with just will.
That's funny.
I'd fucking break something trying to put it on my neck.
I actually am envious of some of the young guys at the gym that they're pretty big and strong, but they're also like jumping up on the boxes.
Yeah.
And they're like fucking getting up there. Like this one guy at my gym, he's like 245 and he does this fucking huge one-legged leap up onto or he jumps up on the box and lands on one foot, and it's like super high. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I've actually started doing a little bit of post leg workout. I haven't said anything, but I started doing some bodyweight squats on a Bosu ball.
Ooh.
Just to get my ankles and knees and hips. So I turn, the half ones, you turn them upside down. So you're on the flat part. Yeah, you're on the flat part. So I stand on that, and I've been pumping out like 3 to 5 sets of 10 to 15 reps bodyweight squats, but sitting right ass to heels, and just working on my balance. And the first couple sets were like hard. It took me forever to get 10 reps. My first set was probably a couple minutes long because I'd stand there between reps like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
But now I can just get on it and I can just pump reps at like boom, 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 no problem. And I'm getting a lot better, and my ankle feels a little bit better. And then I've been a bit of my cardio. So I'll come in and maybe walk on the treadmill for half an hour just to get a bit of cardio. But now I'll do like 10 minutes on the treadmill, and then I'll get on the assault runner, but I won't run. I'm not fucking smashing my knees up, but I'll just walk briskly on the assault runner. Mm-hmm. And that's like a bit of a skill you have to learn. Like if you've never been on an assault runner before and you get on one, they're not, and like it takes a minute. You're like, whoa, Jesus Christ. Like if you put your head forward, you just speed up. And if you like lean back, you come to like a screeching halt. Like it's kind of sketchy at first, right? But I've been doing a bit of that. Just because I think when I tore my quad, I was so focused on getting my leg back that I didn't do anything to really get my, even default level of agility back.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of want to just see if I can enhance that a little bit.
Do you notice anything different now? Like in your day-to-day? Yeah.
Yeah, I do notice a little bit. That it was almost more in the hip. Something to do with the hip. I don't know what. I always felt like that hip was a little weak. Like even just normally just walking around all day, it always just weird. But it feels a little better now. So I'm just going to keep doing it.
Right on.
I like it when you do something and it makes people think you're a good athlete. The other day in the park, there were these kids playing basketball, and I was walking my dog, and they lost the ball, and it came right over to me, and I just I caught it, and I was like, oh fuck, because it kind of surprised me, and then the kid goes, take a shot, and I just took a shot. It was like a 3-point shot. Took a shot, swish, fucking sank it. Couldn't even believe I sank that shot.
I hope you played it cool though. I hope you played it really cool. Just turned around and walked away. So what I did was I hit the shot and I threw it, and as soon as I threw it, I thought, holy fuck, that's gonna go in. I just knew it. It came off my fingers, and I was like, I can't believe that's gonna go in. And it went in, swish, just net. Whew, silent, falls right through the hole. And the kids look at me and they go, yeah. And I go, I watched The Last Dance. Yeah, serious. And I just laughed to myself, kept walking with my dog, just fucking laughed. I laughed all the way home, just dying.
They give you that ball 10 more times. You don't get rim. You don't get
a chance. Not a fucking chance. And then I get back up into the kitchen and I go to cook my food. I'm like, oh, my elbow hurts.
There's real life, everybody.
Look at it, tear my fucking tricep. Just
Oh my god. Yeah, I would have underhand rolled it back.
It's funny because I still remember the moment I was holding it, and I was like, if I take a shot, I'll look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I was about to go back to them. And then the kid goes, take a shot. And I was like, oh, fuck.
You prick. You prick.
It's so funny. Yeah.
I would have underhand granny rolled it back.
I dropped the leash. It was funny, too, because I'm so paranoid about Jedi, like, taking off after another dog or something. So I dropped the leash and, like, kind of put my toe on the leash. And I was like...
Let's see, those would have all been reasons for me to not make a fool of myself throwing that fucking ball.
Yeah.
I didn't even say shooting, I said throwing. Ron, that will never happen to me. There will never be an experience. I will text you and go, hey, I took that shot to it was not even near the backboard.
That's why I left so quick.
You didn't want him to say, do it again.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Walk away, athlete, walk away.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I made sure I flared my lats a bit on the way out. I was like, yeah, that's one for the bodybuilders.
Oh, God, that's good. Next time somebody asks me to do something athletic, I'll be like, I'm friends with Ron. That's all you need to know, bitch. Swish.
Yeah, it was funny. But you know what? You knew it was going to go. I knew it was going to go in.
Yeah, that's the same reason I wouldn't have taken the shot, because I knew it was going to go nowhere near.
You got another one? You got another one?
Oh my God, I have like a million. That's the thing about these, because I've been noticing when I do even when I do my own Q&As that I run out of, Ron. I mean, you couldn't do it if you're a finisher. They don't stop coming.
Oh, I know. Huge
I
problem.
go to bed for an hour and they just keep rolling through, and I'm like, shit. All right, here we go. Let me grab these here. I had left my screenshot page. Here we go. Boom. Oh, well, this is important. This one's for Scott.
Oh.
Scott, what's your favorite cheat meal if you only could have one or the other? Burgers or pizza?
Pancakes aren't on that list, huh?
Nope. That's why I only gave you two.
Then burgers. I'm going with burgers. What about... Here's the deal. I feel like even though it's a cheat meal, I want to get my protein in.
Yes. I totally agree with that. I tell clients that if you're going to have pizza, drink a shake before you go.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel bad wasting an entire meal, and that sounds so ridiculous.
I always get nothing but meat on my pizza, so I think I'm good.
You guys...
I don't.
Canada, and specifically Vancouver, you guys have some pretty good pizza up there too. I don't know what it is,
okay,
but you guys have some good pizza.
Here. Yeah, we got good food.
What about
from the Asians?
So here's my thought. I don't ever tell clients pizza's okay for a cheat meal if they're dieting for a show, because pizza is a very, like, if you order a pizza, you have a lot of pizza, and it's really easy to overdo. So
I don't get, during prep, they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
During prep, I tell people what they're eating.
Yeah.
Off season, every client
guys.
has one a week of do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But I tell them, don't act like you're never going to see food again. You're going to do this in a week.
Right.
And and I tell them, like, the other, so that I haven't replaced one meal.
Yeah.
I'm like, the other 5 meals have to go down. So I always prefer if that meal is meal 5 or 6, because it's also really hard to go back. For some people, I don't know why, but they have a hard time going back to chicken and rice after eating pizza.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I'm not wired that way, because I just don't I don't find the cheat meals that fantastic. But yeah, that's the limiting things. And sure as shit, almost every client once will blow it out, and like they're because I always say cool, and then send me pictures the next day.
Yeah.
And like sometimes they're up so much, and you're like, what the fuck did you eat? And then they tell you, and I'm like, bro,
yeah,
you went to 3 different restaurants. Like, that's not a meal. You were grazing.
Yeah. No, I know.
Like, I'm okay if you stop on your way home and have an ice cream from somewhere, but damn.
Yeah, you just have to communicate, make sure that you know what they think they're doing.
Yeah.
No. Because I mean, what do you guys think though? Because I actually, like, I've had people say, "Oh, well, there's no reason for that," and I'm like, I think people having a life is important. Like I have found it's a must in bodybuilding to go
then
live.
As far as during the contest prep thing, I have encountered and I have been in a situation where you can eat 5,000 calories of absolutely anything and you're not going to add any body fat. You're just going to get fuller because you're really flat and your metabolism's going fucking ridiculous and you're in like a unique situation, like you're 5% body fat and you're starving, then you could, like, I've got a guy right now, like his Saturdays, he's eating a lot of calories on Saturday, man. And he barely moves the scale enough to slow his weight, and he's got lots of food. So it's like his metabolism's just off the charts. He's like sweating his ass off and burning through everything. But not everybody gets a metabolism like that going. There's a lot of factors. So a lot of people, it's like they barely lost half a pound of body fat this week and they want to have a 4,000 calorie cheat day.
Yeah.
Right.
Or a cheat meal for extra 4,000 calories. It's like, well, you barely lost a half a pound, which is not even 4,000 calories worth of fat.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just they're not in a big enough deficit or making enough progress to be able to absorb something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a reminder of what it's for. Like, I remind people, the cheat is number one. I use the word treat meal. I never say cheat because I'm like, it's part of the plan. So
I gave up. I gave up. I gave up fighting that because everyone else just uses it. So I was like, okay, fuck, whatever, it's a cheat meal.
Yeah, right. Me, I'm like, well, I want you to have it, and sometimes I'll tell people like, this isn't optional. Like I've got multiple guys that are having 3 meals a week, and I'm like, if you need me to tell you what it needs to be, I will.
Yeah.
But I need you to have a huge excess of calories a few times a week, because some of these guys. I mean, I have one that is in prep right now. It's funny, he actually got mad at me. I wanted to change his diet and bring it down a little bit, and I went back to his old diet, and I'm like, fuck, this isn't it. So I scroll, and I'm looking for his fucking diet. I'm like, did I lose his diet? How? I don't delete anything. So I was like, hey, email me your diet. I don't know what the fuck. So he sends me the diet, which is exactly what I'm already looking at. The calories were so fucking high, I couldn't believe that's what I had him eating, and we were still dropping. I was like, oh shit, okay, no, I did have your diet, it turns out. It's just I can't believe that someone your size, because he's 210 pounds, is eating way more food than I eat in a contest prep. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll bring you down to 400 grams of carbs on your low day.
Well, I know I got like a middleweight guy on 400 carbs right now, and I eat like 250.
Right. So I mean, it's not rare for me to be at 50 for 2 weeks straight with Chris. Like, sometimes that's what I have to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, when you see that and it's so high, you're like, oh, that can't be right.
So I need you guys to do a question while I go use the little boys' room.
All right, we'll do a question about why at Ron's age he can't seem to hold his piss.
Take your earphone out.
A lot of people don't understand.
How many carbs are you eating right now, Dusty?
I don't even keep track. That's the thing. So I don't do any macro counting or calories at all. I eat the same thing every day.
So you just know if you need to grow more, you'd be like, well, I am eating 2 cups here. I'm going to eat 2.5 cups, or how does that work?
I do the exact same thing with my clients.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you're eating, and I know how to go up or down from that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I can figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I know what a cup of oatmeal is.
Yeah.
But I don't include it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's funny because I do the same thing.
Up or down.
I assume other people can tell me, but I do sometimes people are like, well, how many calories is that going to be this week then? I don't know.
And you know what I say? Look it up.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny though, is because when you explain that to somebody, they understand. Like, it doesn't. What I know is what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And if we need to go up or down from there, and that's really all that matters. Same thing with it. Like, that's my argument with people who are really obsessive about that. I'm like, well, then how does your coach tell you to go have a cheeseburger and fries?
Yeah.
Where are you going? Like, I will tell guys, like, hey, I need you to eat.
Right.
So, like, if you like bacon on it, get it. If you want avocado on it, get it. Like, blow this shit out. Oh, Grandpa's back.
I got a question for both of you guys.
The thing is, it's just that Ron has prostate issues, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back. My bad.
I have a question. I've got a question for both of you guys here. Chris Aceto, because I'm thinking that's very Chris Aceto like, you know, the whole not really knowing how many carbs you're eating right now, but knowing what you're doing, not even knowing what your client's diet was, you know, but knowing that things are, you don't really, that's the thing, you don't really need to know. As long as things are going right, you knew what it was when you started, right? And things are going where you need it to be. And then if you need to make a change, you're like, well, whatever you're doing now, we need to reduce that a little bit. And then maybe you need to know the diet. But
I do the same with cardio and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
if we're going back and forth, because sometimes, I mean, I just bang it out with clients. I finish it. I'll be like, what's your cardio right now?
Yeah.
I have it,
Yeah.
but you have it in your brain. So just tell me real quick.
Yeah. And then another thing, too, is I remember one time I asked Chris that exact same question. And he goes, okay, Ron, let's say you're the captain of a ship and you're sleeping, right? You're on a transatlantic voyage and you're sleeping. And all of a sudden someone wakes you up and they go, Captain, we need you. You hop out of bed. Now, you know where you're coming from. You know where you're going. You know what the plan is. Right now, you're unaware of the situation. You've been sleeping. But you're still the go-to man. They'll catch you up to speed real quick and you make a decision. You can go back to bed.
yeah.
Right.
You're the decision maker.
Yeah.
You're the guy that goes, okay, what the fuck's going on right now? You're doing 30 minutes cardio and you're eating 200 carbs and you lost 7 pounds this week.
Yeah.
Okay. Do this, do this, do this. Pictures in 4 days. You can go back to bed.
Yeah.
You don't need to be aware of like what the weather was an hour ago. Captain doesn't need to know that. He just needs to know what's going on.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I kind of get what you mean. Like, you know, the captain would say, what's going on? Where are we? How fast are we going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
no,
this the way,
it's funny because it
Chris
makes
put
perfect
that,
sense.
I was like, I get it, you know?
When I never had any issue with that because it didn't matter to me. Like, I knew he just wanted the data real quick and knock it out and make a choice. But I do realize that a lot of people are more analytical. And I've had a couple people like, you don't know that? And I'm like, well, I mean, I can look it up.
Yeah.
But we're talking.
Yeah, like
So-
you couldn't.
so
you
why?
Couldn't, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you couldn't, you know, if you asked.
Here, hold on. I'm going to scroll through our emails for 2 minutes when we could have already moved past this.
Yeah.
Right.
If you just told me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, nothing. It's all about where are we now? Are we heading in the right direction and up or down, whether it's training, cardio, diet, you know what I mean? Because I'll tell you another thing that happened one time with Chris is in 2011, my metabolism was so fucking on fire that I was eating 16 ounces, so a pound of cooked salmon every night before bed.
Yeah.
And I get to Miami, and he comes in my room just to hang out, and I've got the salmon on 2 plates.
Yeah.
Because it won't fit on one.
It's
Chris
a lot
goes,
of salmon.
Jesus Christ, how much salmon do I have you eating?
Yeah.
And I said, a pound cooked. He goes, it's so much more than it is in my head. And then he walked away.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, if you've ever seen what a pound of cooked salmon looks like, I mean, it literally doesn't fit on one plate.
Yeah.
So,
I remember in 2012, I was getting ready for nationals, and I was shooting some video with Rich Piana.
mhm.
And, you know, like Rich had kind of seen it all. And I remember that year, Chris, we still laugh about how much food I was eating. And I was sitting there just eating a meal out of a Tupperware dish. And I remember I pulled it out of the mic and I started eating it. And Rich walked by and he looked at it and he goes, holy fuck, how many meals is that?
How
And I go,
many?
And I go, it's just one. And he goes, how many of those are you eating? And I was like, well, I have this meal 3 times and then I have a few more meals. And he's like, holy fuck. He's like, you're eating a lot of food, man. And I remember, like, just in my head, I was thinking, oh, well, I'm hungry and I'm getting leaner, so it's not that much food, is it? But, you know, when you're in that mode and your body's burning everything and you're just roasting through it. But it just goes to show, you know, like, sometimes you're eating meals that most people are like, that's not one meal.
Yeah, well, that's like when you're in prep and you're starving to death and someone else is like, how do you eat all of that? And you're like, all of that?
Yeah, it's no problem.
Fucking dying right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'd be a terrible homeless person.
So
How many meals is
I've got
that?
a question. My question is about Chris. Because I don't think I've heard this from either of you guys. I want to hear about where were you, like bodybuilding wise, career wise, when you started working with him. Because I've heard all the stories, you know, tons of stories about, you know, the successes you guys have had, the jokes along the way. But I don't think I ever knew when you met and how that happened.
So my story is kind of quick. Is when I started bodybuilding, I didn't want to do shows until I knew I could win. So I did a show in 2006. I took fourth, and I decided I liked bodybuilding, but I didn't want to compete again until I could win. So 2 years later, I did the border states and won the overall, and then I could have immediately went to nationals. That was October, and I looked and like, oh, those guys will whip my ass. No. So in late 2009, I realized I thought I was good enough to compete at the national level. So I actually messaged Chris on Muscular Development at the time. And I said, hey, and it's funny because I was stunned. I just shot him a message, and Chris had just, I think, come back. He was sick before, so he had just come back to prepping people again. And so I messaged him and I said, hey, my name's Dusty Hanshaw. I haven't won shit. I've won one show, and I'm not anywhere near the genetic guy you're used to working with, but I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I want to work with you. And he messaged me back and says, email me to this address. So I email him, and he says, okay, it's, I don't know, I want to say $3,500 or whatever he asked for. So I emailed him right back. I'm like, what's the address? Because back then he didn't have like Venmo or anything. Chris doesn't have Venmo. I still mail him checks, believe it or not. So I literally drove straight to the bank, straight to the post office, and I overnighted it to him because I wanted him to know I was serious. And the kickoff of our relationship was him calling me the next day and saying, you don't ever have to waste $20 overnighting me a check again.
That's cool.
And that was it. That's how we started. I mean, he actually, I did send him pictures, which is funny because they were terrible. I was off-season, heavy, and my own genetics, but smaller.
Okay.
So the fact that he even took me baffled my mind. But then when we started, it was just on, and I was actually targeting the USA's, but he had me ready so early at like 4 weeks out from junior nationals. I said, I said, you think we can do the junior nationals? And he goes, yeah, I think we can definitely win the junior nationals.
Not just do it.
And when he said, the way he said it, I was like, he wouldn't just say that.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't either.
Right.
You know, and what's funny is because I had so little experience, Chris was teaching me how to pose the night before the show.
Yeah.
I was in his room learning how to hit the shots. Like he was like, no, like, so sweating through trunks and everything. But the crazy part, and Ron will tell you this too, is from that, the first day I hired him, I was literally like, am I his only client?
Huh.
Like, how do I get this kind of attention? I mean, and every guy I know will tell you the same thing. Like, I owned my retail stores then, so I would start training at like 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
And I'm on essentially, Pacific time. He would text me sometimes at like midnight my time. How was legs today?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you awake? How do you know I trained legs? What the fuck is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you talk, and at the time he's with McMillan, and I mean the list of phenomenal pros, and then my chump ass was like, who is this fucking guy?
I wonder what he saw in you, because I've heard of many stories of guys that were already pretty successful that he said like, no, I don't think I'd be the right coach for you, or no, you don't need me. I've heard of him saying that to several people. No, you don't need me. You're doing just as, I couldn't help you really. I wonder what he saw. Has he ever told you anything about that?
No, I mean, the only thing that we've discussed over time is just that, like, the fact that obviously he knows that, there's just like Ron, I think all blue collar bodybuilders will do whatever he says.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, like, he's never had to wonder if we were going to cheat on the diet or put in the maximum effort. You know what I mean? And I truthfully, and I would say this to Chris because it sounds like an insult, but it's not. I think Chris is also, he's got an ego. He knows he's phenomenal, and anyone can take a Flex Wheeler and make him a champion.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
I don't know that without Chris I would have ever turned pro. Like, he's just also that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's also a lot of frustration dealing with the really top guys too sometimes. As they think they know it all, and it's tough sometimes. I don't know why he ever worked with me. I remember I saw him in 2004. I saw him at Nationals. He was at the weigh-ins, and I was like, that's Chris Aceto. because I had like been following him since the 90s, because I used to cut his Carb Corner section out of Muscle and Fitness or whatever magazine it was. Was it Flex or Muscle and Fitness?
Yeah.
I used to cut his little article out and I used to put them in folders. So I was like a Chris Aceto fan, and I had all these this folder of all his Carb Corner where he talked about carb staggering and everything. And this was back in the 90s. And so I was following him for a long time, like easy decade before I met him. And I never ever thought I'd run into him.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, what is he doing here? Because it was like the first time I saw a big time American coach at a Canadian Nationals, right? And so I went up and introduced myself, and he's like, oh, hey, and we just talked. And I go, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, I help some of the guys from Quebec.
Huh.
And I was like, oh. And it was, Zamir Zabib and Patrick Bernard and a couple of the guys that he helped them get pro cards over the years. And I was like, oh. So I started paying attention to the guys from Montreal that he helped. And they were always like, in the top of their classes battling for pro cards and stuff. And, I saw him the next year he was there, and I saw him the next year he was there, and we would always talk. I'd be like, oh, hey, how's it going? And we'd stop and chat. And then it was 2009. So he'd seen me compete it was 2004, 2006, 2007, 2008. He saw me compete 4 times. And then in 2009, he saw me compete, and I lost the show by 1 point. It was a 5-4 split. So I had 4 firsts and 5 seconds, and the guy had 5 firsts and 4 seconds. So it was very fucking close. So I was in the elevator after the show, and he got in, and he looks at me, and he's like, man, that was a tough one. And I go, yeah, tell me about it. And then he goes, what are you going to do? And I go, wow, I just have to get better. And he goes, ah. And then, he came downstairs. Oh, yeah. So he was kind of sitting beside me in the pump-up room at night. Like, we were chatting all night.
Yeah.
And then after the show, he saw me. And so I thought about it, and I thought, fuck, I wonder if Chris would ever work with me. So I sent him an email like 2 months later, and I was like, hey, man, I was just wondering if you'd be interested in helping me. And he goes, I've been waiting for you to ask me for 4 years.
You're kidding. Wow.
And so that was how it started with Chris. Yeah.
That's cool, man. No, I hadn't heard that one before, and I know everybody always likes hearing the Chris Aceto stories. And plus, I feel like I'm better at asking the question, so I feel more comfortable in that position.
He has taken his role when we brought him in here to answer questions, to ask us questions.
Oh, there's just so much.
I like it.
There's so much that you guys take, for granted because it's your lives, but it's fascinating stuff. It's cool.
Oh, and one of the first things he said to me, I said, oh, well, he goes, yeah, sure, I've been waiting for you to ask for 4 years. I said, oh, okay, well, do you mind if we do a call? And he goes, no, not at all. So we set up a time, and I called him, and we were chatting on the phone, and he goes, he told me the price. He's like, it's this much for the jokes, and the diet is free. And that's like one of the first things he said to me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
I don't charge for prep.
Yeah.
It's like paying a hooker to leave. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually true though, Scott. It's funny, but I used to have Chris come to all the shows, not because I needed him there, but because it was fun.
Yeah.
I figured for a couple $1,000 more, he comes out and we have a good time all weekend. Fuck it, let's do it. So I would fly him out and just get a room right next to mine, and he basically wouldn't leave my room for 3 days, and we would fucking hang out and have good times. And somewhere in there, I'd have to get on stage, which was kind of boring, but the rest of the time was fun.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's cool.
So yeah, good stuff. Well, I think we rocked people some serious cardio information here.
Well, we've been on for 2 hours, so
yes.
I don't know how long we recorded. We were chatting for a little bit, but I know we've been on for 2 hours. So I do have to haul ass. I have apparently other responsibilities.
Oh,
Dusty,
real life.
I do too. Tomorrow, guess what I get tomorrow? My Humbler gets delivered.
Ooh.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me. I thought you were going to tell me
to the gym that is closed that only I can go into, but my Humbler will be in tomorrow.
Excellent.
So, are you going to put a camera in your kitchen for your next cooking event?
I think we should. I think it's important that these new Cooking with Dusties go viral.
Yes, that's my suggestion.
I like it.
You guys can DM Dusty and ask him to describe his latest cooking event. We'll just leave it at that.
Always good times in the kitchen, guys.
Okay.
Everybody needs a sous chef.
Thanks for coming on, Scott.
Oh, it's
Thanks
my
for
pleasure.
hopping in on this one.
I appreciate being with you guys.
Good, and I'll see you again next week. We're possibly going to line a guest up for next week. I got a couple people that I've been talking to, so we have to discuss that soon. We'll figure that out. And remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, and comment. There you go. Yes. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.